This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
What the hell is jug ball, by the way?
Jug ball, it's like pitching machine. So it's like baseball, but you don't have an actual pitcher. You've got like the little machine, the coach puts the ball in.
And then you're just, so it's basically batting practice.
Pretty much, yeah. You have a pitcher that kind of pretends to throw.
Okay.
But it's baseball.
What do you mean you have a pitcher who pretends to throw?
You have like an 11-year-old who is playing defense as the pitcher.
Okay.
And then the coach puts the ball in.
Okay.
It's basically like batting practice.
So the pitcher doesn't pitch it.
Correct.
He's right maybe on the pitcher's mound to field it if the ball comes back to him.
They probably don't even have it anymore.
Jug ball.
Because I remember, I think the next year, so that would have been like 4th grade. The next year we had live pitching.
Did you ever play mush ball?
No, but I think you've talked about it before.
16-inch softball, I think.
Yeah.
Because isn't more standard softball, isn't it like 12-inch?
Probably.
I don't know. 16-inch was, and the ball was a little bit mushy. That's why, at least in Gary, Indiana, they called it mush ball. And you kind of liked it because you couldn't really hit it as far. Right. So it was a lot more about defense.
More action.
And you didn't really have, because of the size of the ball, I don't even remember using gloves. Like, it was all basically you're using your hands to make the catches and whatever the case may be. I think it's many places call it 16-inch softball. I don't know if it's very popular. I'm a big mush ball guy.
Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line. Let us know. 64686.
I didn't grow up on jug ball, though.
Did my possible jug ball coach ever get back to me?
He did, but he had a different first name. And then he said, was it Braemar? Is that your location?
No, it was Pamela
Park. He thought you said Braemar. So, I think it's a different person altogether.
Braemar is where we played baseball, where they still play baseball.
All right, fair enough.
Braemar is where I watched Joe Mauer hit 2 moonshots against the Edina varsity team.
That's right.
About 600 feet.
Didn't he hit one onto like a smash the roof of a car or something?
No, he hit one down a path through the woods to the back parking lot where I had parked my car and watched a couple of kids chase after the ball.
That's what it was.
I just drove by that spot the other day.
Still there.
It's still there, the ballpark.
Is there like a commemorative plaque for where the Mauer dong hit?
It's a good idea.
It's a great idea is what it is.
I don't think there is one, though. Let's talk about real baseball, where there will be real pitchers tonight, including Pablo Lopez for your Minnesota Twins. The Guardians, Twins, and Royals all 5 games back of the Tigers for first place in the American League Central. The Twins are technically in 3rd right now, but they do host the Royals tonight. Maybe get a little separation there. Carlos Correa is back. He will bat 4th and play shortstop. And I got a great baseball update for you, Dan, only in baseball, or maybe in 2025, about Byron Buxton, who is still on the concussion list. Here's our guy, Aaron Gleeman, who joined in studio yesterday. The Twins say Byron Buxton is, quote, ramping up his baseball activities. Buxton has, quote, completed ground-based running, end quote, as opposed to in a pool or on a treadmill. No timetable yet for Buxton's return, but all indications are that he's headed in a positive direction.
I thought he projected it was going to be like Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember what.
That would make sense. Yeah. That would probably make sense because I think he's...
Who are we playing, the Royals?
The Royals, yeah.
Who's on the mound tonight, did you say?
Pablo Lopez on the mound tonight. For them, I believe it's Cameron. Yeah, Noah Cameron.
Good weather. Improving weather.
Should be nice.
We're headed
tonight
in the right direction.
Yeah.
Might be a little chilly. Bring a jacket for later tonight when the sun goes down.
It's good advice.
Be a good night for baseball. I wonder what kind of advance draw we have here. What kind of crowds that are we going to get? And are we worried? Are we playing a Saturday afternoon game so we don't have to mess with the Wolves throng at night? Because it's 7:30.
That's true.
For the Wolves. We're always worried about those traffic patterns. Is tomorrow a matinee affair?
Tomorrow is a 1:10.
Boom, there it is.
The Frost play at 4 tomorrow. So think about what you could do.
Busy.
Twins.
Triple header.
1 o'clock, hop on the light rail to St. Paul, watch the Frost in playoff game 3, get back on the train, come back and watch the Wolves. It's a heck of a day.
That's not a bad day at all.
That's
actually.
a really good
You're
sports
right.
day.
That's smart.
You could do that if you want to do
Easily.
that. So 7:10
and maybe
tonight.
Play a little jug ball later.
This will shock you. I wasn't a very good baseball player.
Oh.
I was afraid of the ball.
Seriously? Interesting.
At Pearl Park in Minneapolis.
Did you get like beamed once and then you became shy?
On picture day in like 1990, taking grounders before picture day, ball hit a rock, hit me in the nose.
Ooh.
Bloody nose everywhere. So for picture day on my yellow jersey, T-shirt jersey, is just blood all over it.
That's like a great war wound, though. Makes you look like tough guy.
Yeah, that was me.
That's
just that ball guy toughness.
Clayton writes, my dad grew up in the Chicago area and also talked about mush ball growing up. Tough guy town. No gloves. Ant's small hands would probably hold him back. Good point.
The narrative is getting set on Ant's hands.
Yeah.
That nifty left-hand finish from the right side was pretty nice.
That was nice. That was very nice, yeah.
That was smooth.
1 for 9 from 3, not so nice.
How many in and outs, though?
Yeah, he did have
I felt like he was dialed
hard luck
in
shots.
the first half.
They did look good.
I know it's excuse computer, and I'm probably projecting, but I thought he was
They
on
didn't
it
look
last
forced.
night.
I thought he was, too. Unfortunately, they needed him to be otherworldly, probably, to sort of change the whole narrative in the third quarter. But overall, he was vastly improved offensively, and he even made a number of good passes where sometimes the shot went in, sometimes it didn't.
The other thing going on just across the street or across Target Plaza tonight, your Minnesota Lynx back in action at home after they won their home opener on Wednesday night against Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. Right here on the Fan, immediately following us at 6:30, they host the winless Connecticut Sun.
Ooh.
The Lynx are 15.5-point favorites
Whalen's
tonight.
on the staff now, right?
She is.
Okay. I haven't even. So is she like down the row?
She's basically right next to Cheryl Reeve.
She is next to Reeve. Okay.
Yeah, it's
right.
Reeve, and then Tebow, and then Brunson.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
Whalen. She's right there.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in the mix.
I haven't talked to her in a while. I got to catch up a little bit.
We text and talk more than people know.
I figured as much, yeah.
Yeah. She's catching me up on what's going on down there. So they're back in action tonight, 6:30. You can hear that game with Sloan Martin on the call right here on the Fan. I kind of sounded like Halvey right there on the Fan. Hermantown. NBA action tonight, Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. How do the New York Knicks respond to the devastating meltdown loss in Game 1 against the Pacers? According to DraftKings, they are 6-point favorites tonight back at the Garden for Game 2. Your thoughts?
I'll be stunned if the Knicks don't win, but I will be equally stunned if the Pacers don't go into that game and play it like we already got our split. The Pacers are another one of
they
those,
don't mess around.
They're not as good as Oklahoma City, I don't think, but they're relentless. They don't give a damn what they're supposed to do. So they won't play it like, okay, we'll try hard for a while and then we'll give up. That's why I think they're dangerous, that you can't even assume that New York is going to win tonight, because they just play. They just keep playing and playing and playing.
And they probably look at the Western Conference Finals and go, we need to wrap this up.
Well,
we don't want Oklahoma City rested.
That's also
the way that it's going.
Highly likely.
Wolves down 2-0. They come back tomorrow night to host Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals. What's the spread on that game, Dan, if you had to guess?
Wolves at home?
Yes.
That's a good question. I'm going to say it's Oklahoma City by 2.5.
Nailed it.
Seriously?
You nailed it. Oklahoma City Thunder are 2.5-point favorites. They are minus 142 on the money line. Wolves plus 120. So if you're feeling good about tomorrow and you're a Wolves fan, think they're going to win, put 100 down, you can win $120. I'm
going to tell you, I think we've seen enough to suggest that Oklahoma City's better. But I'm not ready to declare that means the Wolves cannot win a game in this series or win Game 3 in the series. And obviously, it's the game you have to win. Splitting here does you absolutely nothing. So you have to just focus on 3. And then if you are fortunate enough to win 3, then you say, okay, then let's face it, at that point, the winner of Game 4 would win the series. Well, I shouldn't say that. Game 4 would actually give you a chance to say, we might even be able to mess around with Oklahoma City in this series. Let's get back in it and challenge them a little bit. But nothing matters if you do not take care of business tomorrow night. And a lot of people are wondering, I'm sure we'll talk about this with Lavelle, might the head coach now be inspired to say bleep it and throw a couple of the kids out there, knowing that could be a bigger disaster, but that at this point, maybe he feels like, based on how his, the regular members of the Ant Colony are playing, he's got nothing to lose.
Well, I would say the fact that he benched his guy, Julius Randle,
more than
last
anybody
night,
else, his guy,
tells you Finchie isn't in panic mode. That's probably too strong, but he understands the significance.
What about the report? Did I read somewhere that during one timeout, that Randall spent most of the timeout talking to a ref rather than being in the huddle. Is there any suspicion that might be part of what annoyed the head coach?
Could have been.
In addition to the fact he wasn't playing very well?
Yeah, it could have been. And by the way, I don't know what foul he was complaining about, but the play right before that timeout was a great defensive play.
Yeah, right.
It was that lob pass in. He caught it. He barely caught it.
Yes.
It barely hit his hands and it was gone.
Yes.
It was
a great defense. That's where they come from all angles.
Yes.
They come from, they're in front of you, they're behind you. And what they've done with him a lot since he had the good stretches, they basically have gone to fronting him a lot.
Yes.
And they got enough help behind that he's having difficulty, I think, even getting the ball where he wants it.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to help you out. They want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our National Cash Contest. You can enter the keyword cash easy enough at KFAN.com. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword cash.
What have we as a market done to annoy, offend, or just plain piss off Toad the Wet Sprocket? That's next. How many in our audience are familiar with a group that was, I think, fairly large back, I would think it would be the late 80s and 90s, called Toad the Wet Sprocket? I'm assuming there's a few that might still remember.
Yep.
Well, apparently, their summer tour schedule is out. And it starts July 17, ends October 11.
Good run.
It's a great run. And, there's actually a Toad the Wet Sprocket song. See if it's still on either Button Bar page 1 or 2, called about the bit is Feeling Stupid Now. I think that's See if we still have it, because now that I take a second look at their concert schedule, I'm feeling really stupid now. Well, I am, because the first glance I took all the way from July 17 to the end of October, I couldn't find us on there at all.
So you were bitter.
It appeared like literally every other Midwestern city, California city, Southern city, and Southwest city was on there. Hell, even Hawaii was on there. Honolulu. But upon further review,
we got them?
We got them. We got to wait all the way until September 27, when they'll be in Burnsville, Minnesota.
Oh.
And you know, here's what fooled me. It reads Burnsville, Minnesota / Ames Center. I think I just saw Ames and I thought Ames, Iowa.
I'm sure it was, yep.
But we're on there. So we're not left out. It starts in San Diego, California, which isn't bad. There's a couple of Midwestern sections that include Chicago on the 7th, Indianapolis, your town.
Well, you have to hit Indy.
On the 8th.
If you're not hitting Indy, are you even touring?
Well, no, that's more true than you're willing to accept, I think, but it's very true. And then there is an Iowa stop in Waukee, Iowa?
Waukee, Iowa?
Waukee?
By Des Moines.
It is by Des Moines.
Yeah, for real.
It's Milwaukee then on the next day. So it's Burnsville. Let me back up. Rockford, Illinois on the 26th of September. Burnsville the 27th. Milwaukee, and then Milwaukee on the 29th. And by the way, they will be touring with the Jayhawks.
Really?
Yeah, that's a nice little combination.
Oh,
there,
big time.
As well as several other bands. So Toad the Wet Sprocket, founded apparently in 1986. They're calling it their Good Intentions Tour. So the bit's ruined because I wanted to turn it into I'll never listen to Toad with a Wet Sprocket again, because we were the one town that for some reason was being left out. Also, do you know who's coming? I think in July is our old friend Todd Rundgren to Minnesota.
Okay.
We have to try to get on that list again, see if we can get him on. We had him on, I want to say 2-3 years ago, And then the last time he came through, we were unable to get him. But I would like us to take another shot at Todd Rundgren. It's I don't remember the location, but I want to say it was he's somewhere in the Twin Cities in July, mid to late July.
Oh, we got a good shot. Pantages.
Is it the Pantages?
Yep.
We got good connections there?
We do. Hennepin Theater Trust.
Hennepin Theater Trust.
We've got great connections there.
Toad performed live at St. Olaf in the 1990s.
Wonder if Swedberg went. Wonder if he went down there. I think he would have been done with school by then, but he was building the fan at that point. But
that's it.
I wonder if he went down to his alma mater.
By the way, has there been any talk around here do we need to consider erecting a Bossberg's statue?
Because he's going into the Country Music Hall of Fame?
The Country Music Hall of Fame. That's big. So we don't have a lot of statues here at iHeart?
We don't.
Should Swedberg
we
be our
barely have trophies.
No, that's true. Should Bossberg be our first statue? And how do we get that commissioned? Because for some reason, I think immediately of Halvey as the can-do guy who might be able to get that done. I'm not saying he would sculpt it.
Right.
But he might be able to use some connections. And how could we find someone who would do it for free?
Well, I was going to say we need to trade it out, first of all, for a couple of mentions.
Yeah. Correct.
And then I'm trying to figure out where it would go here in the building. Where would we put it? Would we put it by K1? Would we just put it right outside here? Because K102 is right across the hall.
Yeah, you think of statues, you think outside, and it wouldn't make any sense, I don't think, outside one of the entrances.
I don't think we can just put it on Utica.
You don't think we can just do that on our own?
No.
Without getting some kind of approval?
Probably not.
You're probably right about that.
Is Swedberg in the Pavic Hall of Fame?
No. And he's
the Minnesota Hall of Fame.
He claimed that he would trade his Hall of Fame spot in Nashville with mine here. And I said, you're crazy. I said, I appreciate being in it, but that's national.
No, that's a huge deal.
That's a huge country music wide deal that goes well beyond the great state of Minnesota.
My favorite part of Swedberg's office, but then what he uses for, we always do like around the Masters, we do like the mini golf around the office, for camaraderie, team building. Everybody gets to partner up and play mini golf around our office, and people are in charge of building holes and making them, complicated or fun. Swedberg always uses like 3 or 4 beautiful albums from, one of the millions of country artists that he's helped launch back in the day from K102 with very nice, like personal inscriptions to him. Greg with 2 G's, and has them out there. So, it's like Toby Keith and Garth Brooks and Taylor Swift.
Names, yes.
And there's all these like beautiful
Conway Twitty,
of course, probably the biggest name. And he's always just got him like laying out in the hall. It's like he didn't even have room for all his artifacts from country music stars in his office. They're just like all over his office as some kind of weird flex. So when you walk in there, you're like, well, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
I'm going to complain about my bonus structure here?
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
how's that going to go?
Taylor Swift is looking at me from over his left shoulder.
Apparently he's going to have to give a speech, too.
Interesting.
They do speeches. Yeah, he's going to have to write the speech, the whole thing. By the way, a number of people are familiar with mushball, but they say, for example, Austin, Minnesota, 507 guy writes, we called it kitten ball. There's a bunch of places. Also, a guy out of Chicago said the same thing. 16-inch softball, where he played it in the Chicago area, is called kitten ball. All the Chicago kids I went to college with brought that game to campus. As the game progressed, the kitten ball would gradually get softer. No gloves required, just a keg of old style. And
it's good living.
That's pretty good living. And then your sport is now called, what did you call it?
Jug ball.
Now it's apparently called machine pitch.
Yeah, we would call it pitching machine.
Okay.
Yeah, either one of the two.
Glen Lake Mighty Miles League plays at kindergarten through 2nd grade. Yeah. Jug ball sounds like something from the Power Trip Morning Show. That's Adam.
Yeah, you could take it a couple of different ways.
Minnetonka. Yeah.
Glen Lake, big time baseball town.
Is that right?
Big time. Hopkins baseball, Glen Lake baseball, big time.
Interesting.
Growing up, if you were playing at Glen Lake, you were a real ball guy. Yeah. I did not play at Glen Lake.
Did Joe Mauer ever play there?
He probably hit a couple of dongs out in Excelsior.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, we got Lavelle at the bottom of the hour. We'll try to get him going. If you have questions or comments for him, you know how to reach us. The KFAN Bradshaw and Bryant text line at 64686. It's Lavelle coming up next here in the Fan.
Hello? 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 Hello?
I'm telling you, it could be a song.
Hello?
I mean, just playing that
Hello?
one.
Hello? Hello?
It's so deadpan, man. It's just so perfect.
Hello?
You picked the right song to go with it, too. By the way, Charlie in Bemidji said he saw Toad the Wet Sprocket in Loring Park in the late 90s. It was free, presented by Ben & Jerry's. Their record, Dulcinea, is still great. That's the best one. You've nailed it. 100% true, Charlie. You are a great Toad the Wet Sprocket mind.
Go
Lavelle,
check him out at the Ames Center.
that's it.
Nice venue in Burnsville.
Nice spot, right? Is it not? That's what they say. Lavelle is joining us thanks to our friends at Allery's Bar and Barbecue in downtown St. Paul. Lavelle, what was the concert that you and I, was there one that you and I attended together or ended up at the same place, or two, or for some reason I remember one, was it at the Fine Line?
Let's see. Who did I see at the Fine Line? I saw Michael McDonald at the Fine Line.
That's
Were
it.
you there for that one?
I was there for that one. I think we were near each other for the Michael McDonald appearance at the Fine Line. Yes.
Do you remember the moment that the person I was with got drug into by Michael McDonald?
Paul Allen.
Yes. I was there with PA.
Yep.
And McDonald started singing. I think after the first song, he said, and this is before a smoking ban, and he said,
Yes.
"Hey, folks, great that you guys can come here and have a good time, but kind of appreciate it if you don't smoke, because the smoke kind of rises and gets up in the stage and,
Sure.
and gets in our faces and bothers us." And PA was the only person smoking at the time, so it was Michael McDonald telling PA to put out the cigarette.
We had on at least one occasion, Michael McDonald came in. I don't know if it was to talk to Oak or someone else. It might have been Oak. And I convinced his agent or his handler, whoever's with him, that I wanted to try to tape something with him for the fan. In fact, I'm looking at the studio from which we did it, basically Studio C, the Score Studios. He could not have been more down-to-earth. He answered every question like he was taking the questions seriously. He was very earnest about the whole thing. He remarkably... You know what? When I see him interviewed, the degree to which he almost seems to be apologizing for his music fascinates me. You know, it's almost like, a lot of people have done music that's a lot more important than me, and I just kind of do what I want to do. And I want to say, don't stop apologizing. You got a good play. Whether you want to look down on quote unquote yacht rock or not, if you want to call it that, Michael McDonald has no explaining, I think, that he needs to do.
No. Not at all, especially for the career he's had and how he's very, he's kind of, I don't want to say he changed with the times, but he's very, what word am I looking for? He's very adaptable and very flexible, how he performed, whether it was with the Dewey Brothers or as a solo artist or doing, Yamo Be There, or On My Own, with duets, So that made him one of the, more entertaining singers of my time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put him in the top 10 ranking at all, but he's definitely one of the more entertaining singers. And I was introduced to him. Fortunately, I was blessed to have parents who liked more than just like R&B.
Sure.
They listened to jazz, and they listened to blues, and they listened to some pop as well.
Yeah.
So my mother had the Dewey Brothers album, and that's what was my introduction to Michael McDonald.
Yeah, he was by all accounts a pretty nice guy, and like you say, pretty accomplished as well. My
mother also had a thing for men with beards. She loved beards.
Well, it's okay.
She thought Barry Gibb was a handsome man.
Yes.
She thought Daley Thompson, the former England triathlete, was like the most beautiful man ever. She loved men with beards. And Michael McDonald had one.
Okay, fair enough. You have, before we're done at the top of the hour, you're obligated to issue at least 2 apologies. Which one would you like to start with? Would you like to start with the one to this show or to Cody Clemens? Which do you want to do first?
I'm not apologizing for Cody Clemens. This is the comet sighting we're enjoying right now. and he's going to come back down to earth for eventually. But for now, you just ride it. You know, the Twins have to ride it. The one interesting thing during this streak, they've been starting him and Jonah Bride and some other people and getting run from them.
Yeah.
And that's great. That helps you get through a season. We have moments like that. But, you know, Cody's track record says that he's going to resort back to his norm. Although his argument is that he's finally getting consistent playing time, so he's been able to get his swing sharp and his timing down, and he's showing what he can do. And he's got great bat speed, and he's got nice exit velocity off the bat. And when he does run into one, it flies. And he's had a couple big hits. He's hit homers, I think, twice with his father in attendance. And it's a nice little warm and fuzzy story. So I'm not going to apologize over 3 weeks of Cody Clemens. No,
you're unbelievable.
Definitely not yet.
You are. You couldn't be more patronizing or condescending about the. He's the MVP of the 13-game winning streak.
Yeah. A 2-week burst.
Well,
okay, yeah.
It's the second longest
I'll
winning
give him a
streak.
flower. I won't give him a bouquet of flowers. I'll give him a flower for that. All right. Congratulations, Cody. You've done well. You've been respectable in the field. You threw out the base runner Mount Council at third in Baltimore, although he misplayed the ball off the wall that led to the great throw. But okay. I'll give him his credit there.
It's the second longest winning streak in franchise history. It's the longest home winning streak ever at Target Field.
If anyone deserves flowers, it's the pitching staff from top to bottom who have kept the Twins in these games.
What a purist.
So they can get a couple of hits here and there and continue this thing. And has brought them back to life in the AL Central. So the Twins now are in position to hold our attention till training camp begins.
Did you see the headline from at your newspaper? It was within the last 2 or 3 weeks. It was something along the lines of, if the Twins keep staying in the race, the poll ads should go all in. That was Jim Twins column. Yes, but who's the snarky headline writer who actually had the cojones to write that satire? Because nobody in town is going to take it as anything but satire.
Right. And but I don't think Jim wrote it as satire, though. I think he was demanding action.
I know he was. Yeah, right.
To push the chips in, like they failed to do after they won won a playoff game in 2023, and like they failed to do last year, the last 2 off seasons when they had opportunities to add to the roster and declined to because they wanted to right size the payroll. So I know when they signed Correa, I was told then that this puts us at our limit as far as what we can do payroll wise, and unfortunately, that's held true here for the most part. But the late decision to allow them. Hold on for a second. I got a cop.
Okay, PA. How much smoking you been doing lately? Unbelievable. Lavelle?
Hello?
Lavelle?
Hello?
Lavelle?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Be sure.
The late decision to add to the payroll allowed them to get Jonah Bride and Ty France and Harrison Bader. So it's worked out.
You all right? Lavelle?
I'm surviving. Go ahead.
Hello?
Can you hear me now? Hello? I'm here. Hello? I know what you're doing.
You do? You think you know what you're doing, huh?
Do you have any water at that cigar club?
No, I don't.
Maybe call for one.
I might have to.
I'm worried about you, man. Are you okay? We can put you on hold and give you a chance to find some water or something. It's okay. I don't want you to.
No, I had the ick earlier this week, so I'm just getting over it. So it's still trying to come out a little bit.
You had the what?
The ick. I call it the ick when you don't think it's a cold.
Okay, the
or
ick.
a full ick. 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 The ick.
Is it whooping cough? You think you got whooping cough?
No. I was showing signs of having like a cold. I was kind of congested. I started coughing, and I was feeling a little crummy. But I'm coming out of it. Right. I'm ready. I've come out of it in time for Memorial Day weekend.
Speaking of the apology, good question asked by 612 guy. Would Lavelle talk like that with Roger Clemens within earshot?
Does it matter? Well, I mean, I would congratulate him on his son having some success after toiling.
You sound like you would. You would.
Huh? I congratulate him on his son being successful.
Let him have a moment, for God's sake.
But why would I say that to anybody's father? Anybody, not just Roger, not just Cody's father, but any father. Why would I be condescending to anyone in that situation when they're happy for their child?
Yeah, I hope you're right about that, but it almost sounds like you'd like want to throw it in Roger Clemens' face. That might be dangerous.
I wouldn't take shots at Gio in front of you.
You wouldn't? Well, that's surprising.
No, actually, I have no reason to take a shot at her in any way, shape, or form.
I hope not. How about the apology to this show?
For what?
Well, you basically stole the state of basketball thing from us, and then you didn't even have the guts to actually go with it. You immediately apologized to the entire hockey community to be sure they didn't get it all agitated by the point that you were trying to make. Yeah, the breezers in the bunch thing.
I like that line. I just thought it was rather witty at the time.
That's a good line, but I mean, you got to.
No, but if I remember a week ago, we could go back and roll the tape that I told you. That sounds like a good column idea. I'm going to have to run with that. I do remember saying that.
Oh, well, maybe you did.
That actually rings a bell. We just forgot about it because of your hello meltdown.
I think that's what it is.
Well, you know what? You forgot about it because you have a reason to be mad at me again.
Yeah.
So you stole it, but with proper credit.
So you're saying you're off the hook because on the front end you acknowledged that might be a bit of a thing you could develop into a column.
It's not the first time that I had a conversation with you and the light bulb's gone off, okay? I can't. You are my muse, and it's worked out a couple times. I'm
all right with that. I actually don't. I'm not as bitter. You disarm me when you put it on that basis. See, which is sly, which is very smart. But yeah, I guess there is a saving grace to acknowledging it on the front end, where then it's almost like, okay, I'm on the record, 100,000-watt radio, that this might have had something to do with the inspiration for the direction I ended up going in.
Apparently, I got savaged by Common in Antenna yesterday.
Is that right?
About that column.
Really?
Yes. I don't know exactly what they said, but someone sent me a reply to me on Twitter or X about, you need to call in the comment right now. They're savaging you. I was like, what? And, then I ended up texting Antenna. I said, okay, why'd you guys rip me? And he said, for your state of basketball column. And I just replied with a smiley face and a laughing emoji.
Well, there's really no two bigger hockey guys than Tenna and Common. If there's anybody, nobody that I know on the station talks more hockey than Common has over the years. Don't you think? He'd have to be at the top of the list.
Yeah, but there's members of the hockey community. I'm not going to paint the entire hockey community here with a broad brush, but there are some who are elitist about their place in the Minnesota sports team.
Oh, there's no question. That's the point of trying to knock them down to size. It's 100% true. They are incredibly arrogant about pretending that there's more there than has actually been there, especially at the professional level.
I was waiting for Gaardsy to get at me because I didn't mention anything about Gopher basketball. And I contemplated it while I was writing it. I was like, well, if I say both programs are promising, that really doesn't fit where I'm headed with. They've got to put some skins in the wall here. Can they in the next couple of years or so? Yeah. Don Plutz-White's in the right direction. Nico seems to be one of their better hires in recent years. But I got to see some skins on the wall first before I give them their flowers.
Yeah, that's why I don't think Gaardsy would be particularly offended either.
More than fair.
So are the Wolves about to get swept?
Woo! Well, Dan, I want to say no, but the way they play these first two games, and, I've been thinking about this, and I've been reading up on what's been going on, and I just think that I'm not saying that they lack, that they're weak mentally, but they haven't. Their mentality has not been up to the level of Oklahoma City, especially when you get frustrated and you push a guy down, or Don's Reed spending too much time complaining to the officials about the calls that SGA is getting, or not knocking down jumpers in a hostile environment. Hold on a second.
Lavelle?
Or not executing. They just haven't. They haven't raised their level to meet the challenge of facing a team that won 68 regular season games, that beat opponents by average of 12.9 points a game during the regular season, that forced 17 turnovers a game. They have not cleaned up their game. And some of the stuff they were able to get away with during the Lakers and Golden State series is happening. They're not getting away with against this elite team, and they got to raise their level of play. They got to raise their intensity. They got to raise their focus, and they got to get to their A game. I think we've only seen a C+ game out of them, and that's not going to work against the Thunder.
No, I think part of the reason some of us picked the Wolves to win the series, in addition to the fact that it appeared that Denver, not perceived as a great team at this point, is certainly an injury-ravaged team, was able to extend them to 7 games. I think the other part of it was what you just alluded to, a belief that the Wolves, despite the fact they won both their series in 5, and they had a tremendously gaudy record since March 1, lately had not even really played their best basketball. So you project and say, okay, they got another gear in them, and they kind of know that with Oklahoma City, you're going to have to get to that next level. And unfortunately, through 2 games, at least in the third quarters of both the games, they've been unable to do, as you said, just, any of that at all.
I know. And Nasri's been bad. Dante's been horrible. The bench has not been up to snuff, definitely. So I wonder if Fitchy's got to get out of his rotation here and see if Clark can come in and D up SGA for a few minutes and see if Terrence Shannon can get out on the break and score and add some offense that way.
I can't disagree with you on that. We'll see. That's the open question, right? That there's been no bigger believer in Julius Randle than this head coach, right?
Yeah.
He worked with him in New Orleans. He was insistent that you have to give it time, even if it started badly. And in fact, if you recall, eventually he said, basically said he kind of was reveling in the fact that Randle, through the first couple rounds of the playoffs, was being lauded for his emergence as a playoff performer, and that basically he's proven the doubters wrong. But he sits him, and he sits Dante DiVincenzo the entire fourth quarter. So does that mean he's thinking of, all right, I may roll the dice now, I have nothing to lose? Or now that they're back home, is it, all right, I'm going to take one more shot at this with the people who've over the course of the season been my best? I have no problem if he opens it up on the roster or on the lineup, because the fact is, even in the last 2 series, certainly in the case of DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, the Ant Colony, and even Nah, to a large extent until the fourth quarter of last night's game, have been pretty average to mediocre for a while. So to that extent, to me, I'm willing to take a risk, even on a kid who doesn't know any better, or a couple of the kids who don't know any better, to throw them out there. You throw them out there for 4 minutes, see how it goes. If it's a disaster, you pull them. If you got something going, you extend them and say, okay, maybe we got a little something going here that gives a little bit of different energy to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's challenging too, because when you have a roster, when you have, Rudy's been kind of invisible, but when he's scoring well, we only need him to score 10 or 14 points and pull it out for rebounds. You also have Mike Conley, who's not really an offensive-minded guy. So when you start throwing those guys into the mix with those 2 guys on the floor, your scoring options are limited unless TJ can get going here.
Yeah.
So there's a risk in that, and that's one of the things the Wolves have to look at going forward here, because it gets tougher and tougher when you face better teams, and you have to worry about all 5 guys scoring. That's really an advantage. I mean, that's what Boston did in winning the title last year, and it looks like OKC's got those options as well, because Homer can score a little bit in the paint. SGA. They got dudes that come in and their one role is to shoot bombs, and they're good at that. And when Naz Reid and Dante aren't scoring on a roster in which your starting lineup has one great scorer in Ant, a decent scorer in Randall, but you don't know what you're getting from the other 3 guys, that's just tough.
Yeah, 100% true. What do you think? Obviously, Game 3 is tomorrow night. All the action on the Fan. Pregame show will start at 7 p.m. and then Gaardsy and I are doing the win or lose Game 3. We're going to be doing the Memorial Day program from the Target Center cage with Game 4 on Memorial Day Monday. We've got a cavalcade of outstanding guests. They're going to stop by our booth, win or lose. So what's the crowd going to be like? Is the crowd going to be in the mode of, let's go all out for these guys, let's give them every bit of noise that we can inspired by the Oklahoma City crowd? Or is it going to be the classic Minnesota crowd that is ready to turn at the first 10-2 deficit?
I saw a clip from a podcast, and I think it was Mike Breen was on, and he went on a 5-minute rant about how Minnesota is underrated in terms of its fan base and how loud that arena gets. He talked about how the fans bring a great atmosphere, a lot of energy to Target Center. And I expect the fans to be wound up and ready to go be full-throated tomorrow and on Monday. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think they're going to try to make it as hostile of an environment for OKC as possible. I think the Wolves are going to be happy just to be back at home after the 2 debacles in Oklahoma. So I expect the fans to be heard loud and strong for these next 2 home games. Well,
you may be right about that. That might be, and Breen has talked about his belief that he likes the crowd here. I was talking to Gaardsy a little bit, though. It's hard to match New York's beautiful people in terms of the big names who end up courtside. But can we up our game a little bit? Because I don't think anybody famous was in Oklahoma City that I saw. Maybe a couple of country artists I don't know about. But in any case, do we need to sort of try to up it a little bit for, because the nation's still watching, I think. It'll be Saturday night. And again on a Memorial Day Monday, can we farm in some extra A-listers?
Yeah, the Vikings have been good about showing up to these games.
Yeah, that's true.
For next week, I don't know if there'll be a few guys in town who have taken the game. JJ's been there. Darisov's been there. Jordan Addison's been there, although he refused to acknowledge the crowd when he was pointed out during the timeout, which disappointed me.
He was probably checking on his dog, Lavelle, while he was at the game. He was digging in a bag of popcorn, and the camera was on him and Darisov and a couple other guys. He pretended that there was no camera there. It was just strange. Nafisa Collier's been there. A couple of Lynx players have been there. Haven't seen any hockey players there. It was bare bones earlier in the postseason. Hold on a second. When they introduced some rapper who I'd never heard of before, and I was like, "Who's he?" So a year ago, Common and Jennifer Hudson were in the audience. Snoop was in the audience for one of those games. Maybe we need to reach down in the Rolodex here and get some of those people back.
Didn't Luka start trash talking Snoop?
He had some words for him, I think.
Yeah.
Snoop was with Jimmy Jam.
Next to your guy, Jimmy Jam, I believe.
That's right. I keep forgetting to text Jimmy, and I don't think Kreger's is coming back for this series. At least, maybe he'd come back for a game 6. Maybe
he always says he doesn't come in for one game.
You know who they should try to bring in?
Who?
Wherever he's at in the world. I know he's off the grid, but if they could find a way to get the ostrich and make an appearance.
Well, that would be good. I think that ship has sailed. Yeah, I don't think that he's... The only place I've seen Kevin McHale surface, from a media standpoint certainly, is occasionally he's on SiriusXM, the NBA channel. That's it. And it was largely with the guy. Kamla's not on there very much anymore, if at all, I don't think. Rick Kamla. He seemed to be a big Kamla guy. We've even tried to get him on several times.
Kamla's doing something else now. He's with another channel station or network or something now. So, because PA had him on a few days ago.
Hey, Lavelle?
So, yes?
Do better, Charlotte. Do you know that joke?
Do better, Charlotte?
Do you know that joke? It's Kamla related. So, was it maybe 2 years ago? I don't remember exactly when it was. The Charlotte point guard. Is it LaMelo Ball?
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball ends up, he's kind of off balance as he's going out of bounds. And he ends up kind of tripping over, his foot ends up on top of a fan's foot in the front row. Okay, and he ends up suffering not like a Larry David end of his career injury, but an injury nevertheless. And it wasn't anybody's fault. There wasn't really anything that anybody could do. It wasn't like the guy had his foot out. He went into the crowd. But Kamla, in sort of the classic self-absorbed phase that so many media types are, was exasperated that one of his favorite players, I guess, was hurt. So he sent out a tweet, "Do better, Charlotte." Somehow it was the city of Charlotte's fault that he ends up sort of, ending up getting his feet tangled up with a fan who's minding his own business. It's not like I said he's got a foot out And Trip, so that's the do better Charlotte quotation from back in the day.
The fan didn't pull a Eugene Amos, did he?
No. Nothing like that.
I remember that one. That one was a hilarious moment in Wolves history.
That's very true. No, he didn't do anything like that. Didn't try to get any money out of the deal. What do you got for Sunday? What's the Sunday column?
I'm covering the Frost game tomorrow.
It's pivotal.
At Excel, because they're trying to make their mark in the championship series here for the Walker Cup. And they tied it yesterday,
yes,
I believe, with an overtime goal. So that series is tied 1-1 as we head to the X for. Actually, I'll be at the X for the Frost Saturday and Monday. So unfortunately, I won't be able to see you guys at Target Center on Memorial Day because I'll be at the X.
Well, be careful, man, because again, there may be some people in the state of hockey. Those people get really defensive really fast. So keep your head low, even at a Frost game. You never know what might happen there, where somebody calls you on your state of basketball column.
Well, keep my head down and my hand on my pistol, whatever Bill Walton used to say.
If you ever go to Houston, got to walk right, got to keep your hands deep in your pocket and your gun belt tight.
There it is. There it is. How good is that? It's just so good.
Gaardy's on point today.
100%. Right on time. Right on time, indeed. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We'll chat next week. Thank you.
Hello. Look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Lavelle Neal the third. That is a good soundbite. It plays. That's another one of those. Oh, by the way, yesterday, Gaardsy's still on the phone he's off the phone now. Yesterday, Food in the Mouth guy, I heard him, Dean Blevins, ask several questions.
Oh, yeah, he's locked in
the postgame.
He's locked in.
He ignored us, by the way, right? Didn't you request to get him on?
I sent him an email.
You think he's afraid that we were going to mock him for the Popovich moment?
I'm not sure. He is very much, he takes being a TV guy to the next level.
Does he?
Like, you know how Lori Fisher cheers for all the teams?
Yes.
Like, which is fine.
Yeah,
I'm not offended by it. He may, I don't know what the mascot is for the Thunder, but if he's about to retire from his TV job, he could do it. He could take over and be the Thunder mascot.
And he's retiring, you said, right?
This
is last year. All right, let's come back. We got a full half hour to go. We've actually got an A-section topic to discuss and explore. Please don't.
Man.
Is the name of the program. Don't forget, I'm back for sermons on Sunday, and then we're doing a Memorial Day show from the Target Center cage, and we are on Monday afternoon, correct? And we're obligated, we're committed to the bit, regardless of whether the club wins or loses tomorrow night, right? Might as well just go through with it.
Absolutely.
They're still playing the game, right?
Yes.
And who do we have, by the way, on that we already know it would be confirmed?
Well, we know Johnny's coming
on Monday.
And it sounds like your guy Sedano is going to come by.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. Your guy, George Sedano, doing the games on radio for ESPN. I've been texting with him basically the last 2 days, thanks to our mutual friend Mike Trudell, his buddy from Los Angeles, and he couldn't be nicer and more accommodating. He's going to come by the cage, probably in the 4 o'clock hour on Monday.
That is outstanding.
So I'm excited for that. That'll be cool. We can ask. You got to ask him about Stink, right? We got to tell him.
It's our favorite combination name for a show: Sedano and stink in the history of it was ESPN Radio, was it not?
I think so, or it was on
maybe
TV or something.
Maybe it was on TV, yeah. Sedano and Stink. Stink was the former Broncos lineman.
Mark Schlereth,
yeah. It was just a beautiful name.
Who does? So every time Sedano's on TV,
I always say it.
You say Sedano and Stink.
I can't help myself.
I think he'll take that with good intent because it's meant with good intent.
Yes, it 100% is.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly talk some basketball with him, too. TheFire.org is one of my favorite organizations because when it comes to free speech issues, they try very hard to be equal opportunity. There are times where they raise the ire of lefties and other times where they raise the ire of righties as well, and they don't care, which is one of the things I respect about them. And their undies are in a bunch right now.
Their breezers in a bunch?
Breezers are also in a bunch in the wake of the news breaking that the Trump administration is barring Harvard from enrolling international students. And some of you may have read some of these stories. The Homeland Security Secretary ordering her department to end the Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification, citing the university's failure to hand over the behavioral records of student visa holders. And I love the reaction from the legal director at FIRE, who finds this a dangerous attempt to suppress free speech. And again, the beauty of FIRE is, on a number of occasions, they have championed the causes, for example, of various professors who, in their mind, have been punished for having unpopular opinion at their university as well. And in many cases, they were standing tall for, you could say, right of center professors who say, You're trying to tell me I can't have a given opinion on a DEI program, for example, or cannot challenge it. That's where I think they have a measure of credibility here because they tend to be across the board. Here's what they say. The Homeland Security's decision to escalate its assault against Harvard by revoking its ability to enroll international students is retaliatory and awful. Departments demand that Harvard produce audio and video footage of all protest activity involving international students over the last 5 years is gravely alarming. This sweeping phishing expedition reaches protected expression and must be flatly rejected. The department is already arresting and seeking to deport students for merely engaging in protected political activity it disfavors. Now we're not talking about individuals who have attempted to disrupt students, who have been found to harass students, et cetera, or who are being engaged in what might be perceived as more than significant anti-Semitic activity. They write, the administration seems hell-bent on employing every means at its disposal to retaliate against Harvard and other colleges and universities for speech it doesn't like. This has to stop. And no American should accept the federal government punishing its political opponents. In one case, one of the students, it's already been written about and talked about, her only crime was co-signing an op-ed in one of the school's publications. I don't know, it was a newspaper, magazine, whatever the case may be. And it was Lil Marco Rubio who basically said, well, if you're coming to the United States of America to be part of protests that do things like block entryways to students trying to go to school, then you don't deserve a visa. And I'm thinking, well, that's a nice projection. But in fact, some of the students who have been cited here or being investigated, there is no evidence that they did that. So the idea that you're guilty by association, if other students have done that, and it's because it's part of the same cause, then somehow you're guilty of participating in that particular activity, even if they have no evidence that you did. And in the case of this one student, it was because they penned an op-ed piece that was anti-Israel. It's preposterous. And again, you can be a righty and applaud this. Yeah, get them. I hate those colleges. But why do you hate them? You hate them because you perceive them as being too difficult on freedom of expression or political opinions that are not in favor at most universities, right? That's what you despised. So if you're just going to replace one system with another to get even, then aren't you the hypocrite? Aren't you actually fanning the flames of the same issue if you are now trying to get in the way of individuals expressing their point of view and their freedom of expression? So check out Fire's statement. I think they have good detail on exactly that. And I believe there's already one judge that has stepped in this case because a court case on behalf of, maybe even on behalf of Fire has been circulated. And in fact, I think a judge is attempting to block the administration's ability to basically hold a university hostage over this. That it's definitely an abuse of power. Whether that'll mean anything to this administration, that's very problematic, and the answer is probably no. But an important story to get to, and again, I'm grateful that there are organizations that try very hard. They may not always succeed, but they try very hard to be consistent on these issues and protecting free speech, whether the speech is coming from the left side of the aisle or is perceived to come from the right side of the aisle as well. We'll come back and we will indeed wrap up a very busy program. Maybe a couple final thoughts on Wolves and Oklahoma City Game 3 tomorrow night on the Fan.
Show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
A lot of Timberwolves conversation, as one might expect, in the first hour of the broadcast. We also had Ben Gessling to talk some Vikings. Also got into the emotional end of the ESPN Talking Heads program called Around the Horn. Around the Horn. Today was the last day, correct?
It was.
Emotional for you?
I liked it. Yeah, I never really got to see it.
Yeah, because
the last 15 years or so since we've been working together. But when it came on the air in 2002, around the same time that PTI came on, that was an important block if you were a sports fan. And it introduced me to a lot of people I'd never heard of from around the country. Guys that you knew, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Like Tim and Woody Page. And
100%.
All these guys. And it was nice to kind of to get the news of the day a little bit, but also hear different perspectives on it. So I thought it was a good show. I will miss it.
Lavelle joined at 5:30. The program will be podcastable, downloadable. I haven't talked to him yet. I'm assuming we'll continue our weekly Sunday sermons visits with Alan Horton, the radio voice of the club. The question is, will we be celebrating a magnificent Game 3 victory that at least makes the series seem within reach again?
They got to get it tomorrow night.
Or will it be 3-0?
Like last year.
In best of 7, how many series have we been down 3-0? Have we ever?
Well, last year, Western Conference Finals. Dallas won the first 3, then we won 4.
You're right, then we won 4.
And then they won 5.
That's right. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, we did. We were down.
And I'm sure there were a couple of others as well, but I don't remember.
Quick texter. Dan, people voted for the Trump administration to censor colleges and revoke the visas of foreign students who co-signed a letter to the editor. That's good, and you have every right to vote for someone for whatever reason you want, but there's a little bit of a question of legality there. There's a little question of the protections that most Americans feel should be in place that, for their own sake, in case they have an unpopular opinion. So you can revel in whatever you want. The question is how legal it is. And again, you can celebrate it because you disagree with the opinion. It's easy and fun when the people being punished are offering opinions you don't like. But the proof of your own fraudulence is if you don't spend a minute or two to think about, well, what if it's an opinion I agree with? A la many professors at some universities who found themselves in hot water for having unpopular positions on issues like DEI, which the same organization supports and said, no. Universities should not be able to punish those individuals either. This is even different, though. This isn't the university doing the punishing. This is the United States government attempting to rear its head in areas that it's never had before. So, you can get aroused by it all you want, but you're kind of foolish if you don't understand the ramifications of it. It's always easy when the opinion being offered is one you hate. You go, yeah, I don't care. Get them out of here. I don't care for that opinion. But what if it's an opinion that you agree with? Would you feel the same way, or would you just whine about how dare they stand in the way of American principles? That's what you got to look in the mirror about, or don't. It's up to you. But at least try to have some level of consistency, which is what I appreciate about the FIRE organization as well. Let's do this. Let's wrap up this very busy program. Tonight, we got Lynx basketball on the Fan.
Right after this.
The struggling Connecticut Sun. We're undefeated.
We are 3-0.
And
for Boudreaux.
The Sun
0-2, I think, or 0-3. Yeah, they have not won yet.
How about Caitlin Clark the other day? Last night.
I'm watching the video right now.
They won.
Yeah.
And I think she had like her worst game as a pro. Wasn't she 0 for 5 from 3?
She may have been.
Yeah, I don't think she scored from 3.
I'm watching her get into it with.
Oh, is this the. Yeah.
I'm not scared of you, she says to the player. That's great.
Yes.
Oh, that's really funny.
She's starting. It's interesting. It's almost like in year 2. Last year, it was almost like I'm not going to get into anything.
I got to be the rookie.
Because the microscope's on me. I sense this year, and I kind of expected sooner or later she'd go, not going to work anymore.
I understand it. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I'm not going to be anybody's fool. And so it seems as if there's a much greater willingness to be a little feistier regarding those kinds of
I'm not scared of
issues.
You, she says. That's
when do they come here?
I don't know off the top of my head.
And I assume we're playing it, as I said, at the People's Stadium. Did we move it to Viking Stadium?
Not yet.
We should.
Not yet.
Will because of Iowa proximity, we will fill Target Center easily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no question about that. We've done that before.
The Fever games for everybody are part of special ticket packages.
Correct.
They may not like it all the time, but they're not stupid, the WNBA.
No,
they know how to capitalize when the Fever come to town.
So enjoy Lynx basketball coming up. Don't forget, Game 3 of the Wolves series will be on the Fan tomorrow night. Howlin' with the homies doing weekends too?
They are, yes. They're doing a pregame show tomorrow. I don't think Parker's part of it tomorrow. I think I'm going to join Max for some of it because I'm going down to the game. So
perfect.
They're on, and then they've got the postgame too.
Beautiful. So enjoy the weekend KFAN activity, and we will talk to you on sermons beginning on Sunday at 9.
Well, it's lumpy.
A lot of things that are easily correctable.
Whenever you need me. All this negativity that's in this town sucks.